Hey, welcome back.
Hey guys,
This is Healthier Ever After. I'm Rick Sorensen.
Greg Camp.
We are here to talk about all things health related, weight loss and healthy lifestyles. We've been having some good times, and I'm super excited, man. Some of these things we've been talking about, I find myself like we'll make an episode, talk about something, and then over the next couple of days, my brain is like, oh man, we should have said this, and I should have talked about that.
Should have dived into this.
We didn't even mention that other thing.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking maybe we need to do like a reprise of some of these things, because there's so many things. I'm like, oh no, there's so much more. We just talk about it.
And I think there's just levels to all of this. And it's like, sometimes it's for some people, it's keeping it very, I don't want to say simple, but simple.
Yeah, simple. Like everyone's not a physiologist, or a physician or whatever.
Yeah. So for those that like a deeper dive, we're going to hit some of those things, and some of this stuff will be full circle with some of the stuff we've already talked about.
Yeah.
But it'll just be diving deeper into saying, hey, what's the deal with that? Or, how does this work? And so we'll dive into a little bit of that. We just want to give you tons of information if you want it. That's what this is there for. And it always is going to circle us back right to the basics, right? Of like the little things that you need to be doing on a daily or weekly basis to kind of get us where we need to go.
Yeah. So today we're going to talk about something that I'm excited about as well. As a reminder, this is for educational and informational purposes only. We certainly recommend that you do not replace anything we say with, do not replace a relationship and conversation with your healthcare provider with anything that we say here. Before starting any exercise program, weight loss regimen, nutritional supplement, talk to your provider.
Yeah.
So today, Creatine. There it is.
Probably the most talked about supplement right now, as far as most of these supplements go. Vitamin D has been hitting for a while. We'll talk about, I'm sure, that again. Creatine lately has just been very popular. You probably see advertisements for it on Facebook or wherever else you consume your
whole life.
Yeah. Whatever, however you consume content outside of your own world. There's so many advertisements and whatnot. So we're going to talk about, is that just hype?
Well, I mean, okay, talked about. I mean, everybody talks about creatine. You're like, oh, creatine. I mean, my pre-workout, I'm going to get ripped. It's going to be huge. We're going to talk about, is that real or not? But it's also the most studied, most proven sports supplement on the planet Earth.
Yep.
In human history. How about that?
That's saying something.
That's like,
that's saying something.
Exaggerating.
Yeah, no. And it's, there's more studies on it. There's been more things looked at. And I think it used to be looked at, and probably when me and Rick were, coming up in the military, I mean, creatine kind of used to be looked at as like more of a sports supplement, not just for your average everyday person.
It was for your bodybuilder. Yeah. It was, like guys hitting your gym rats on anabolic steroids and creatine.
Yeah. And it's just, we're just finding that that's not the case. There's lots of benefits for the average everyday person. Yeah. Now, of course, those are always enhanced by working out and even doing arguably some good resistance training. But, they're just finding more and more data that's really leaning towards everyday use for the average person.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean everyone should be on it. Maybe not. You can decide for yourself.
Everybody in my family, I noticed there's a big tub of creatine. My wife's got it on the thing. She's like on it. And I'm like, oh, you got creatine? She's like, yeah, I got creatine. I don't know what brand it is. Got it at Costco.
Yeah.
And then my daughter, Carly.
Yeah.
She's doing her creatine. Just this morning we were at work together, and she's got a little bag of her creatine gummies. She's like, I don't even care what it does. I don't even care what's in it. She goes, it's just so chewy and yummy.
Yep. She loves the gummies.
I'm like, okay, let it do its thing. But it actually does some things. Let's talk about what this creatine, what does it do really? What it is, because a lot of people think like we used to think it's just for your gym. It's going to make you ripped because it's going to build your muscles.
Yeah.
Right.
And really, honestly, creatine, without doing any activity or without really doing much, I mean, there's things it does, but it's,
but I think you would be safe to say it does nothing.
It does.
If you don't do,
like, if you sat on the couch every day, all day, and you took creatine, you're probably not going to notice much. Now, that's because obviously you're not going to be using your energy stores, and we'll talk about what it does that way, because you're not going to be using much energy. So, really like, what's the
Yeah.
point there?
Yeah.
And you're not really going to be using your muscles. And so the one very specific area that we know has a lot of, that requires a lot of energy. And we talked about that before, of like
Yeah.
the biggest powerhouse your body has and the biggest energy user are your muscles. So that's why creatine is always so closely associated with like muscles, with working out, especially doing resistance training. And so, yeah.
So let's talk about creatine. Like, this is not just something you can only get at the store, right? I mean, you're eating this in your food, especially with meats, with fish, like salmon. It's part of your a normal, regular, healthy diet.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not like this out of the world thing that you're not going to get. I mean, you're eating creatine in your diet. Most people on a regular diet eat enough to have their kind of creatine store at about 75, 80% maybe.
Sure.
Sometimes a little less. If you're a vegetarian, probably a little less, like 50% at its kind of its store. So what does it do? It's a molecule that lives, your body takes creatine and puts it into muscles, and it sits in the muscle cells. And then it holds phosphorus. Okay. So your muscles, you think of your muscles as the energy cell. It uses little batteries. And so when you're at the gym or you go on a walk, whatever, like those first few seconds, it just burns through these ATP batteries. That's your
this like stored energy.
That's the energy that your muscles use.
Yeah.
ATP, and the P is for phosphate. So it takes a phosphate off, and that's how your muscles use energy. The creatine gives a phosphate back to kind of refill those battery packs, right? Yep. So having a full tank of creatine lets you burn through those batteries, those quick batteries at the first of any kind of exercise activity, a little bit longer.
Yep.
I don't know if that, I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of what it does.
It really is if you don't refill those batteries, then what happens is that you're on your run. You can't run quite as far because, you have to slow down because you're running out of energy. Your muscles are getting more tired, more fatigued, and it's because they're running out of the ATP, and your body only has so much available, right? Yeah. And like Rick said, this may depend on your diet. It may depend on how active you are. And so that's where creatine comes in, is that we're just trying to charge those little micro, every cell is a little battery, as Rick had said. And we're just trying to make it to where you have the right ingredients to be able to add that phosphorus back on there continuously over and over and over.
And it's like if you have a hybrid car, you can burn gas, but that first little bit is like your big battery pack.
Yep. And
you burn through that really quick. But the creatine helps you. It like increases the capacity of that initial battery pack. And what that does, I mean, that doesn't really do anything specifically to the muscles, but what it does is it lets you, when you train, it's a couple extra reps. Yeah. It's a little bit more effort that you're able to do in those quick initial steps. And so that doesn't sound like a lot, but over a week, over a month, it lets you do a little more exercise. So it's not like creatine builds muscle, but it lets you put forth a little bit more effort as you're building muscle.
Yep.
It's the effort that builds it.
It is the
creatine.
effort.
The creatine fills your battery pack. It makes your tank a little bigger.
Yeah. I mean, it really, if you were, as a runner, if you could run normally 3 miles and you're now able to run 4 miles or 5 miles because you're on creatine, of course, your endurance, it's not really the creatine. It's actually that you're just building additional muscle and endurance, but the creatine is kind of that thing that can help you push it to that next level. And so it's really, and that, Rick had mentioned that last rep, if you can only do normally 8 reps of whatever weight, and now I can do 10, and you weren't fatiguing because you necessarily didn't have the muscle. You actually potentially fatiguing because the energy stores, right? You get to that last rep and you just can't push through. Now you have that extra energy. You can push through a couple more reps. What's going to happen? More breakdown of muscle. And then you end up growing these muscles, and now you're going up and up and up in weight. So it's attributed to the creatine, but actually it's just a physiologic process of building. It's
what it allows you to do with that. Yeah. So, excuse me. So let's say I start a creatine stuff. Like I'm like, wow, my daughter's got these delicious, chewy, yummy gummies, and my wife's got this thing on the counter. Maybe I'll start creatine.
Creatine. We'll talk about creatine.
Yeah, we'll talk about that
here in a minute.
So I start taking creatine. What can I expect?
Well, I think the typical recommended starting dose is a little bit lower than what's being advertised on most of these advertisements you're seeing nowadays. It used to be that it was always advertised down at these lower doses. So we know the studies showed that 3 to 5 grams, supplementing with 3 to 5 grams a day is what you need to be able to get the desired benefits. So that increased endurance. We know that you're probably not going to expect much in the first couple of weeks. You might have a little more energy. You might have maybe a little more endurance in your workouts, but this is not I take it like now and
then I feel energy this afternoon.
No, this is a process that happens over time. And like I said, that 3 to 5 grams. Now you're going to get people watching this who are like, no, I just barely watched this podcast or I got this advertisement. They said you're supposed to be on 10 grams or 15 grams
or even 20.
Yeah. I mean, really high, much higher doses than we've like traditionally kind of been accustomed to seeing.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is that they're starting to find evidence of, like even more benefits. Sometimes we say like more doesn't necessarily mean better. In this case, what they're finding out is a little bit more than what they originally found is a little bit better.
Yeah. Especially for like the brain.
Yes.
Like that's new. I mean, that's kind of newer research, but there's good evidence that creatine actually helps the brain. It uses some of the same batteries, I guess.
Yes. Well, I mean, yes, the brain. So the brain uses ATP the same way the body does, right? And it's actually one of the biggest. Your brain and your heart are really some of the biggest users of that.
They're just big because they're constantly running.
Yes. And so what's really cool about that is they're finding these really cool benefits, neurological benefits, at about 10 grams. That's about when those start. So it's really interesting to watch this. And creatine, which was like really big and then kind of seemed to like almost fade away. It was still there. I think a lot of people were still using it, but more so it was more of a bodybuilding kind of supplement.
Right.
And now has come back in full force. And the reason why is because there's just a lot of people that are really focused on wellness. I think COVID kind of kicked this off for a lot of people.
Well, and it also it's actually, I mean, we're talking about what it does. So before we get into that, let me go back to what you expect. Like if I start taking this as a supplement, I actually might notice some weight gain.
Yeah.
Because as what your body's going to do is it's going to take this creatine, it's going to store it into muscles and keep there. So it's like increasing that tank size. That's going to pull some water into the muscles as well. So you're going to gain a little bit of water weight. This isn't gaining fat. It isn't like that. It's just your muscles getting a little bulkier because the creatine pulls some water in with it. Okay. So that's an important thing to know. Now, as far as like the brain and the dosing and all that thing we're talking about, I forgot what I was going to talk about.
Yeah.
The benefits of taking that supplement. There's some, we'll just talk about some of these studies. Like there's not so you talked about like a daily dose. Normally it's about 3 to 5. You can go to 10. Some people say 20. You can like load with 20, and that's fine. Number one, you don't expect to feel the most benefit of creatine in a few days. This is like a couple weeks, maybe up to a month of taking regularly the supplement, allowing your body to kind of build it and distribute it into the muscles and kind of etch out that bigger tank essentially.
Yes.
And so it takes a while. So this is not something that it's like, I'm going to take this now and I'm going to feel this tomorrow. It's like, no, I'm going to take this. I'm going to be consistent. Almost like your exercise has to be, you're watching your diet has to be. It's one of these small things, but it takes some consistency and you're going to notice that. And it also, I think the thing about it that is getting talked about a lot more is because as we talk about weight loss, we're talking about GLP-1s and that's kind of getting more and more traction and more popularity. It's getting just, taking the world by storm, essentially. Creatine is the one supplement that helps do what we're trying to do. We've been talking about keep your protein, lose your fat, keep your protein. And it helps you do that. It helps you do that a little bit more exercise and keep the muscle tissue.
Yeah. There's some good benefits shown for helping with some weight loss. So once again, it's not directly. If you just do nothing else and you start creatine today, you're not going to add on muscle and you're not going to lose weight just with that. But what it's going to do is it's going to set your body up for success for if you put an equivocal amount of effort in on those fronts with or without creatine, with creatine, it's going to be a bit better. It's going to use energy better. Once again, you might get that little bump with some weight gain due to water. That's expected. And what's nice about that is, of course, once that levels off, then it drops back down. Now you're supporting keeping good muscle mass, especially while you're losing weight. You're able to keep those energy stores up. What do we do? One of the first things we do when we start trying to lose weight, right? We start cutting calories. So oftentimes we start cutting nutrients. So arguably, maybe through your diet, you might be getting a little bit less creatine than you normally would. And so supplementation is really what me and Rick feel like. Supplementation is where we supplement things that we are not otherwise naturally getting through our diet.
Yeah.
And creatine is going to be one of those things that where when we're cutting back, even though we're trying to keep that protein content high, which is a lot of those foods are what has creatine in them, unfortunately, it is going to drop a little bit, most likely.
Yep.
So I just think it really comes down to doing that, to knowing that it's not a fix-all supplement, but it's a very, very, very good and evidence-based supportive supplement that can really support weight loss, that can support maintaining good muscle mass, and then all these other benefits that we're talking about as far as, neurological, helping your brain function better, helping your body function better overall, because every single cell has to fuel itself. And it does it through some creatine.
Yeah. And it's interesting. We'll talk about this time and again. I was telling Greg, when I've talked to, medical professionals that I help train or whatever, one of my catchphrases has been that life happens at the cellular level. All these things that we talk about, really why we do certain things, what we're working on doing, it's because the reasoning behind it is what's happening in the little cells in the different organs in your body. And that's where it becomes important. Anyway, so back to just overall creatine. They've done some interesting studies. There was one on a study in older women. Like there's not like an age either that it stops being helpful. Right. Study in older women, 24-week study in older women, for example. They had the two groups. They had people just taking creatine, and they had people doing resistance training, and they had a third group that's doing both. Right. And they take a creatine supplement and do resistance training, beat both of the other groups for gains in strength and lean body mass. So that's just the evidence that one thing versus the other doesn't help. Creatine alone didn't help as much, and certainly resistance training. The people who did the resistance training, the ones that did that and had creatine, were able to do a little more of. I mean, that's kind of what those numbers say.
And I would say that if it's gonna work for a little old lady, I can assure you it's gonna work for all the other ages. Right? This is like probably postmenopausal women in their time when it's the hardest time for them to add on good lean muscle and things like that. So if that's going to be the case for them, I mean, I can assure you that someone that's like earlier on, male or female, that does that, I mean, I can assure you the results are going to be similar. With the creatine and the resistance training, you're going to be able to add on more lean muscle than if you do either one alone. Creatine by itself, I can almost assuredly tell you, you will not add any lean muscle by itself. If you're still just sitting around and not doing anything, you got to move.
Use it for what it's intended to do. And you can think of the intent is increasing that little battery pack in all your muscles.
One thing that comes up with this study was talking about older women, and it kind of comes up about every time I check lab work and someone's on creatine, we always see their creatinine. This is a byproduct of your kidneys to show how the kidneys are functioning. So
you're talking about, like, people say, oh, well, creatine wrecks your kidneys.
Absolutely not. And in fact, the studies show it does not. So, but what happens is that how your kidney function is calculated is using creatinine, not creatine. So this is a byproduct of your kidneys that ends up going up a little bit as you take creatine, because there's just more of that. And so what happens is it kind of calculates your filtration rate.
Function. Your kidney function.
And that's what they use for that. And so it tries to, indicate, or it shows on the lab work, oh shoot, what's going on with your kidneys? Like, you normally have had good kidneys and you started creatine, and all of a sudden your doctor's like, make sure you tell them that you're taking creatine.
So tell the lab, tell your doctor, I'm taking a creatine supplement, because that's going to save a lot of surprise and potentially headache and lab redraws and let's recheck this because something's up. Yeah, because it is going to look like that. Now, that being said, that's in healthy people. It's been very safe. This is actually the, I would say it's the safest supplement ever studied.
Yeah, I mean, we just haven't seen any problems with it. There used to be theories of wrecking your kidneys, like we just talked about, and other things. And it's frankly, it's just never bore out to that. Now, look, if you are on creatine and you work out and you're taking other supplements and you're getting dehydrated, I don't care. It's not the creatine.
Yeah.
If you get like that, you can have an acute kidney injury and things like that. That means that you're just too dehydrated. That really has nothing to do with the supplement. I mean, you're just asking your body to do too much on too little fluid.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we see
stay
that.
well hydrated.
Yes.
So there are some people that we, recommend that you should talk to your clinician first, specifically, like the studies we talk about not hurting kidneys. That's in healthy adults with healthy kidneys.
Yep.
If you have kidney disease already, your kidneys are low functioning kidneys already. That if you have a liver disease, those are two big things that are worth talking to your doctor about before starting a creatine supplement.
Yep.
If you're pregnant, breastfeeding, if you have uncontrolled high blood pressure, those are sort of the big things. If you're under 18, that's worth a conversation with your provider specifically regarding those things. But yeah, healthy kidneys and a healthy person, it's not wrecking your kidneys.
Absolutely.
All right. So who's going to feel this the most? Who's going to, like what, a month after starting a creatine supplement and you're working out, I would say probably vegetarians.
Vegetarians, big time.
Just because their normal diet is going to naturally have less creatine.
Yeah.
And so they're going to end up their overall battery pack tank is actually going to have the biggest change.
Yeah.
Right.
You're going to have vegetarians. You're going to have older people that Rick already had mentioned, that study done with older women. I don't know what age that is. I mean, we could look at the study and see where the cutoff was. If you're 60, then we'll say older women 61. I don't, it's
Right.
It's whatever you're not old. But it really ends up coming down to people that have, honestly, anyone losing weight, older people that are higher risk for actually muscle loss. So vegetarians, like we just started talking about, older people that are higher risk for muscle loss, people that are actively losing weight.
Yeah.
These are the people that I feel like it's going to benefit a ton. And for those of you that are not really trying to lose weight, but really just add lean strength or muscle.
Yeah.
Perfect supplement. To that can benefit you that way. People that are dealing, and now there's a lot of people that are touting creatine as like, oh, it's going to help with your ADHD and things like that, because of those neurological benefits. Look, those have not been proven yet. There are some anecdotal studies out there that say, hey, look, we've seen some benefits here.
Early studies that may be saying some things
that
haven't been proven yet.
But those are interesting things to kind of talk to your primary care about. Hey, this is something I've been thinking about trying. If you want to go out on your own, I guess that's up to you. But then you can kind of just do an inventory of, how do I feel? Is my concentration better? Am I thinking more clearly? I guess you can kind of do a study of one.
Yeah. So recommended 3 to 5 grams a day. We talked about that. And this is not a supplement that it's like, oh, I have to take it at the same time. And you can take it because you're looking at the effect of about 3 to 4 weeks to fill this tank, to kind of build up all these stores. And so it doesn't really matter if you take it in the morning, take it in the night, take it in the afternoon. The timing of it doesn't matter as much as the consistency of taking it over a kind of an extended period of time, weeks. And so that's good. And some people actually recommend taking, I would really want to load that, like do a quick load and load those stores quickly. And you can do that. Some people recommend, taking that 3 to 5 grams, but split it, do 20 grams, but split it into like 4 doses.
Yeah. Especially if you're
day.
sensitive, like if you find that supplements just upset your stomach.
Yeah. You're going to get some GI upset if you do that.
Yeah. Split it up. That helps. It's always been, this has been forever. This is for when I was like a young male in the military and tried creatine for the first time. I've really found it to be true. At least myself, and I think the studies would support this. I didn't actually see an actual study on this, but it actually does absorb a little bit better with food, or specifically with carbs.
Yeah.
So, because carbs, I mean, think about it. Everything that's put into your body has to be transported somewhere. And how does it get there? And creatine, the way that it's transported into the muscles, how I understand it is that it latches onto carbs as a transporter. So taking it with food, like I said, specifically carbs in a lot of cases can help minimize the GI upset, as well as help as a great transporter. Because like, once again, you're fueling those muscles. And so if you take it with some good, healthy carbs, you can imagine that that's going to also give you because the creatine has to add that phosphorus on, but you also need the other ingredients, which are carbs.
Yeah.
So I've always tried to take it with like a meal or right after a workout with some kind of carb.
Yeah. So the other thing to think about with the creatine, we're building up our capacity in our muscles. Most people are about 60 to 80% full, and you can't really go to 200%. Like, I mean, your muscles hold as much as they're going to hold.
Yeah.
Like you have this tank that's a certain size. You just need to fill it up. And so 60 to 80%. So your body actually makes about 1 gram of creatine a day from amino acids, 3 amino acids. Your food gets it, red meat and fish like salmon. You can get about another 1 to 2 grams a day if you eat that regularly. And then a supplementation, we're talking another 3 to 5 grams a day. So, and that kind of fills the tank. So just eating normally, you're usually going to be about 60 to 80% full. Now, there are some people who are very efficient and make enough creatine, and their tank is full anyway.
Yeah.
So they're not going to notice. They're going to be one of these like non-responder, like creatine doesn't do anything for me because, and the reason is because your body is doing a better job than most people, and your tank's already full. So more creatine isn't going to help, but most people are going to get about 20 to 40% more capacity in that little battery pack. Yeah. That is the start of exercise.
But you can imagine for your brain, for your muscles, for your body. I mean, you can just only imagine how much that would help someone that normally runs on the lower end of that. Let's say you are a vegetarian and you run more on 50 to 60%. Can you imagine getting up to 80, 90, 100%, how much better you'd feel?
Yeah. Well, that's the whole point. It doesn't add something that's foreign to your body. It's something that you're already using. It just tops off a tank that you're already using.
Yeah.
And so that's super helpful. And what else do we want to talk about? Myths and facts. We talked about a little bit of that damage of kidneys. It's not a steroid. It's not there to like bulk you up.
The one thing I always get asked about supplements. So supplements in general, look, a good name brand supplement, you're probably going to be fine. You can always look for, is it made in a factory that's actually a factory that like they check for standards, because, there are a ton of supplements out there. It's hard to choose. So there's a lot of supplements that you can find that they, depending on the various, depending on where you want to go get your supplement, most of your name brand supplements, most of your big box supplements are going to be good. Is it going to be as good as your, super expensive? Like, do you need to go spend $100 on your creatine gummies versus $20? There's probably not an $80 difference in those.
No, in fact, there's some super fancy formulas and stuff. And honestly, the most studied, the easiest is this is one where like simple stuff is simple stuff, and it's easy and good and works. So creatine monohydrate.
Yep.
Whatever supplement is that, and that's not the bells and whistles. That's not some of these other fancy things you get on. Like, hey, we found the best creatine supplement. Like whatever. Like no,
it's
you
not
didn't.
Better. All the studies.
It's creatine monohydrate. It's cheap and it's effective and it's helpful. So don't bust your wallet looking for some special fancy thing, because
they make it in
the best thing.
Gummies, they make it in powders, they make it in capsules.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really just whatever you prefer. Look for a good name brand, and you should be fine. Get that 3 to 5 grams a day. You can extend that out, I guess, a little bit higher if you're feeling like you want to get those other additional benefits perceivably. But hydrate well with it, stay active, and keep moving. And you really should be fine. That's really it. Creatine monohydrate. The sources are good.
That's good. Yeah. I think that's it. I mean, and we talked about kind of what it does.
Yeah.
It's an exciting thing. It's one of the things that's super helpful.
One of the things I have seen is that it's been marketed specifically to, this is like a female version. I saw that on Amazon. In fact, I've had a couple patients
Wait, really?
where they brought it and they were like,
this is female creatine.
Yeah.
And this other one is male creatine. No, that's
perimenopausal. And I'm like, oh my goodness gracious. They just overpaid by $20 for something that said women's on it. There is no specific women's or men's creatine. It is specifically.
You know what? I think we should add a creatine supplement to our website.
Yeah.
and we should have a male version
Oh,
and
yeah.
a female version. And
It's going to look
you know
great.
what? We will discount it and only charge you $10 extra
Yeah.
for either of those.
If you want the specific one that says male or female,
Okay, wait, don't do that ever.
yeah, don't. I mean, it is not.
It's
The creatine monohydrate is for humans. And,
all humans.
Yeah, and an XY or an XX chromosome.
XY, XX, XXY, whatever. It's
makes no difference.
It's going to be good. All right, creatine, we're for it, 100%.
Yeah,
and we're going to talk about something else next time.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good. Take care. We hope you remain healthy ever after. And specifically on starting any supplement, we do recommend talking to your medical provider, especially if you have any of those medical conditions we mentioned. Take care and be healthy.